Hello guys, welcome back to my channel and enjoy this fanfic part 2. Now let's start the fanfic. Tsunade's group had been traveling near constantly for 2 days straight and were already within sight of Tenchi Bridge. Tsunade raised her hand to signal a halt, making many of the shinobi, especially the Chunin, to skid to along the ground while others just dropped to the ground in exhaustion. The only ones that could still stand were all the Jonin and Guys students plus Naruto, due to having much higher endurance than all the others. While this was going on, Tsunade took Yugao's Anbu team with her as security and instantly spotted her longtime teammate Jiraiya sitting in the middle of the bridge under an umbrella using a fan to cool himself. Tsunade stepped out of the shade of trees and slowly walked out to the bridge and eventually standing in front of Jiraiya, who looked up and smiled. "Oh Tsunade-chan, how are you doing this fine warm day?" Tsunade, growing irritated at his casual stance, yelled, "Jiraiya, we are in the middle of a forced exile here, the least you can do is be more serious." "Oh Tsunade-chan, why do you hurt me so? I even prepared a bottle of chilled sake just for you. Why don't we have a drink and let everyone else have a bit of rest as well?" As he was waving around a sake bottle in front of her, Tsunade, feeling no ill intent, decided to have her favorite alcohol for old time's sake. As she raised the cup of sake to her mouth, she tasted something different about it, something that isn't meant to be there. Shrugging her shoulders, she drained the whole cup in one gulp and then proceeded to drink the rest of the bottle. As she lowered the bottle, she saw Jiraiya smirking at her as he said casually, "The same old Tsunade, drinking every bottle of sake that comes her way. Even if it had a drug that could paralyze a senin." That's when Tsunade felt it. Her muscles were clamping down, paralyzing her in place. Tsunade managed a glare and growled, "Why would you do this to me, Jiraiya? I thought we were friends." Behind her she heard sounds of fighting as the ambush was sprung. Jiraiya laughed and stood up and looked down on his former teammate. "Tsunade-chan, do you know why I don't have a last name? I definitely knew my parents. The thing was, nobody else was meant to. My full name is Jiraiya Udatane Shimura, son of Danzo Shimura and Kaharu Udatane, and grand-uncle to my 2 half-nephews, kids Sai Shimura and Moegi Udatane." Tsunade, stunned into silence, didn't notice that Yugao's Anbu team was being slaughtered behind her by none other than Kakashi, who had once again in his Anbu uniform complete with dog mask, and Tenzo wearing a dragon mask. One of the Anbu, a bear mask covering his head, called out, "Tsunade-sama. Stab ah," as he was impaled on a tree root that emerged from underneath him. Yugao and Kakashi were in the middle of a sword duel, Yugao wielding here Anbu ninjutsu and Kakashi wielding his father's chakra fang. They were facing off against one another in sword stances, preparing to meet blades. Both were trying to catch each other off guard. Kakashi decided to speak first. "Yugao-san, why would you be here with these traitors and demon lovers? I thought you were smarter than this. What would Hayate say?" Yugao, who had removed her mask, glowered at her former senpai after being reminded of her deceased fiancé, but decided to taunt right back. "That's like the pot calling the kettle black, right, Kakashi-senpai? Speaking of deceased persons, what would Minato-sama and Rin-san say about your hatred? Especially Minato-sama, considering you want to murder his only child." Kakashi growled out a reply, preparing for the decisive first strike. "That demon is not Sensei's son, and considering who his mother is, I'm not all that surprised about why you support the demon, considering that whore was your teacher." Suddenly he charged and sent chakra to his blade, aiming for a downward strike, which was countered by Yugao parrying the strike away from her body. Chink! Yugao counterattacked by making waist-level slash in an attempt to cut Kakashi in half, only to be stopped by Kakashi's blade. Clank! Both vanished again, only to appear a few seconds later, both locking blades, causing sparks to fly. Kakashi, being physically stronger, was pushing her back, although Yugao managed to break off and jump back just as she was about to be cut, creating a long thin slash along the ground where she would have been. There was a momentary pause as both shinobi knew that the next strike would be their last. Yugao prepared to use Oborozukyo, Dance of the Hazy Night, as Yugao rushed forward so fast she left an afterimage behind her. Kakashi prepared by pumping more chakra into his father's blade and got into a defensive stance. Yugao struck in multiple directions, cutting and slashing until finally impaling Kakashi with her sword. Yugao whispered, "I got you now, Kakashi-senpai." Kakashi just laughed. No, Yugao. I got you. Behind her, Yugao heard the unmistakable sounds of chirping birds behind her and a sharp stabbing pain in her chest. She looked down to see an hand sticking out of her chest. Kakashi smiled to the person behind Yugao. Good work, Sasuke. The boy just grunted and violently pulled out his hand from Yugao's chest as Yugao dropped lifelessly to the ground. Both one-eyed man and dark-haired boy turned towards the sound of battles within the forest. Having sprung the ambush, both had no doubt that the demon and the demon lovers would be dead. Behind them, Jiraiya appeared behind them and both turned and bowed towards the Sannin, who he himself smirked back before smugly said, Kakashi-san, Sasuke-san, it seems the battle is over here. Kakashi nodded and replied, Yugao refused to surrender. Too bad, she could have made a good concubine for Sasuke-san and would have had many strong Uchiha children. Jiraiya shook his head in disappointment. The demon had corrupted her too much, wouldn't have been useful for Sasuke-san, although with a bit of brainwashing she could have been made into a very good comfort woman for the village. It's such a shame, really. I wanted to have a go with her as well. Tenzo shunshined body flicker technique in front of them and immediately kneeled down. Jiraiya turned to business. Tenzo, remove your mask and report. The Anbu nodded and removed his mask. Not gonna describe him, and in a flat monotone voice answered, Sir, the last of the Anbu traitors have been eliminated, no survivors found and all bodies are accounted for. I have also removed all the traitors' heads for bounty payment upon mission completion. That is all I have to report. Kakashi smiled behind his mask. Good riddance to demon-loving traitors. Sasuke turned towards Jiraiya and asked, What do we do now, Jiraiya-sama? Jiraiya in response turned his mane of hair and pondered for a few seconds. Alright, here's what we'll do, Kakashi-san. Sasuke-san, you two come with me to the ambush site. Sasuke-san, use the curse seal to its full potential. I want to show those traitors the true meaning of despair. The clan heads are only meant to tire the demon's supporters, so they would be easy pickings for us three. We're gonna force the demon to watch as we execute all of its supporters, and with that Higurashi bitch, all of us are gonna take turns with her in front of the demon. When it's over, I will allow Sasuke-san here to kill the demon with a Chidori to the chest. Jiraiya then turns towards Tenzo and said, Now Tenzo, you will be guarding Tsunade. No doubt is already healing herself from the paralysis drug already. Now understand something. I want Tsunade alive. Do you understand me? She will be heavily weakened from the drugs, so it should be simple to knock her out again. Got it? Tenzo nods his head in understanding and shunsins back to Tsunade to stand guard. Turning back toward Kakashi and Sasuke said, Now then, we wait until the first wave of the clan heads en route Anbu had retreated after weakening the opposition. That's when we strike. Understood? Both Kakashi and Sasuke saluted and at the same time shouted, Sir. Yes, sir. All three quickly shunshined to get to their positions for the final kill. Five minutes before the ambush with Naruto and Tenten. While Tsunade went to meet with Jiraiya along with Yugao's Anbu team, everybody else had taken a break. The group was so exhausted that they had not even bothered with setting up sentries to guard the camp. Naruto and Tenten were leaning their backs against each other as both rested after their non-stop journey to escape Konoha. Despite Naruto only just being freed, he still had a smile on his face as he watched all his friends and adoptive siblings move around him. As Naruto watched, he felt a slight pull in his mind. He knew it wasn't the Kyuubi or his parent. No, it felt like a foreboding signaling death. He only just got the glimpse of shadows behind trees causing him to jump up and attempted to warn his allies. Naruto shouted out, Ambush! But his warning came too late as a large number of smoke bombs and kunais with exploding tags appeared in one volley from all directions, killing a number of shinobi and blinding the rest of the group. Within the smoke, Naruto and the now alert Tenten could hear the authoritative voice of Asuma shouting out orders as all around them battle cries could be heard as the battle known as the Battle of Tenchi Bridge had begun. With Asuma and Maida Guy as they attempted to rally their fellow shinobi. Today was meant to be a good day. After leaving Konoha, they were meant to be safe and already fleeing into the safety of one of Naruto's influential friends, but no, at this moment the whole group was in the middle of an ambush. He was the first who reacted to Naruto's already late warning as the first deadly volley had been launched at them. As he began to bark out orders to the surrounding disorientated allied shinobi. Everyone stand your ground, for the Hokage's past, for honor drive them back. You will drive them back, our path is righteous, drive them back, damn it. Form up into a defensive line and protect the supplies. And somebody find Naruto and Tenten. While this was going on close by, Maida Guy and his adoptive son Rock Lee were encouraging their fellow shinobis. Rise, my youthful friends, we must defeat our unyouthful enemies and be victorious, we cannot fail. Lee decided to join in his adoptive father's rant. Yes, Tucson, the unyouthful enemies must not win. Asuma decided that he needed to see who their enemies were as he used his mastery with futon, wind techniques and Ed in a breath and blew a huge breeze of wind to blow away the smoke. Who he saw attacking them caused his blood to boil. A large number of blank-masked Root Anbu and all the Konoha clan heads were massacring a large number of shinobi around the outer part of the clearing. Hiashi was using his gentle fist to kill a group of Chunin who was battling him. The Ino Shika Cho group were using their combined skills to strangle, stomp, and in Inoichi's case used his mind techniques to destroy minds. Shibi and his son Shino were using their bugs to the surrounding shinobi drive any chakra. Sum and her two children Kiba and Hana were using their combined techniques with their Ninken to pulverize anybody that got in their way. This of course was countered by many of Naruto's group led by many prominent Jonin and Chunin. Asuma had decided to engage the Ino Shika Cho trio in battle using his trench knives after activating his Hien style, Flying Swallow, to make his blades super sharp rushed into battle. Due to Asuma knowing the Ino Shika Cho trio's constant strategies in battle, he was able to hold his ground for a few minutes and actually crippling the weakest member of the trio Inoichi by slicing off his arm, although he was grievously wounded by being blindsided soon after by Choza while being held down by Shikaku, causing Asuma to retreat to the rear. Maida Guy and Rock Lee engaged Hiashi in a taijutsu battle using their Goken and Hiashi using Juken, gentle fist style. The Goken duo started the battle off first by releasing 3 of the 8 gates as Hiashi smugly thought he had an easy win, only to be hit by a double dynamic entry. Hiashi counter-attacked soon after with Hake Rokujuyan Sho, 8 trigrams 64 palms, hitting Lee hard enough to knock Lee unconscious, making Guy have to unlock another 2 gates and himself punching Hiashi through several trees, permanently crippling Hiashi for the rest of his life. Anko Mitarashi and Aruka Yumino had engaged the Inuzuka family after Anko summoned snakes to the battlefield. Sum, her children and their Ninken repeatedly launched Gatsuga after Gatsuga at their 2 opponents, Hana and Sum, particularly targeting Anko and her summons, trying their best to eliminate the more tougher of the 2 they were facing, in the process also forcing many shinobi to be caught in the crossfire of the barrage of Gatsuga. Despite being protected by Anko's summons, the Inuzukas would just change direction at the last minute. Meanwhile, Aruka was repeatedly dodged Kiba's and Akamaru's repeated Gatsuga assault, and unlike Anko, was repeatedly beating him back by just catching him by the arm while simultaneously kicking the hanged Akamaru in the face, repeatedly forcing Kiba to repeat the process, attacking his former sensei multiple times, eventually knocking both unconscious from too many strikes to the head. Meanwhile, with Anko and the remaining Chunin she was leading were able to finally stop the mother-daughter team of Sum and Hana, who themselves had multiple stab wounds from kunai and broken bones from Gatsugas that went awry. Despite this, the opposing group had lost 10 men of the 15 Chunin that assisted Anko and Aruka, who themselves were badly wounded as well, with Anko herself having a few bite marks on her arms and shoulder and a drill-shaped hole on her other shoulder. Expecting another attack, the whole group were surprised when Sum and Hana nodded to each other and grabbed the unconscious Kiba and Kuromaru, taking the unconscious Akamaru, and retreated, causing the whole group to cheer in victory at their successful defense. Kotetsu and Izumo, despite being Chunin, engaged the 2 Abername members. Unfortunately, despite their combined efforts, these 2 along with countless Chunin were the first to fall, although not without badly wounding both, knocking them both out of the battle. Meanwhile, with Naruto and Tenten during the battle. Naruto and Tenten at the moment of attempting to join in the main battle were ambushed themselves by the remaining Konoha 11 led by Shikamaru, flanked by Choji and Neji, and about 20 Root Anbu had them surrounded and cut off from the rest of their group. Shikamaru turned towards Neji and signaled for him to step forward. Neji carefully walked out of the surrounding group and stopped just short of Tenten's firing range of her weapons before taking a deep breath and called out, "Ten, demon, in the name of the three honorable councils of Konoha and incumbent Hokage Danzo-sama. I, Neji Hyuga, demand that you surrender to us and accept your punishment as traitors and demon lovers. Tenten-san, I swear as an honorable citizen of Konohagakure no Sato that you will be spared after receiving your punishment for your betrayal, and you will, after being judged by an honorable court, will judge whether you are worthy of being one of Sasuke-sama's brides. This is a very generous offer. Tenten-san, just lay down your weapons and..." Swish. What? As Neji felt his neck had been partially opened by a kunai thrown by an enraged Tenten, who herself was starting to take on an enraged aura around her. Tenten, with her short hair shadowing and covering her eyes, answered in a low growling voice beside Naruto, "How dare you, Neji? To think I once admired you. Now I know that respecting you was a mistake. What makes you think I want to be a bride of that bastard Uchiha anyway? The councils probably want me to marry Sasuke to spite Naruto-kun." Neji, while still clutching his neck, growled at Naruto and Tenten, "Fine. You want to stay with that demon, fine. But I swear, Tenten, you will regret taking the demon's side over Konoha." With this, Neji leapt back to be attended to by a medic nin. Shikamaru hardened his gaze towards Naruto and Tenten, especially Tenten, before being interrupted by Naruto, who threw a stone at his head. "Hey. You lazy bastard, stop looking at Tenten-chan like that. If you want a girlfriend, go find somebody else that's single." Shikamaru, rubbing his head in anger, calmed himself down before answering back, "I was not looking at Tenten like that. I was looking at her because of how much of a troublesome bitch she was. Besides, if the Yamanaka clan get their hands on her, they'll just turn her into a whore anyway. We were offering her a much easier way out of this situation, but it seems you are both being troublesome. So just die already." With that, the Root Anbu, a healed Neji and Choji, charged as Naruto and Tenten themselves prepared for the onslaught that was to come. In a split second, Naruto called out to his mind, "Ka-san, Tu-san, I need your help regulating Kyuubi's chakra. I'm gonna take on a lot of opponents, so I beg you." Naruto heard his mother speak. "It's alright, Sochi, we'll do what we can to help. But it would be the last few things we can do for you, so please finish quickly." "I will." Just as the small army of shinobi were about to pile rush Naruto, they were suddenly repelled by a dome of yellow light engulf Naruto and Tenten, protecting them from all attack from the outside. As the light condensed around Naruto, his form sent a shockwave of power in all directions, momentarily shocking both sides to the point of stopping all fighting around them, and also shocking the hidden second wave of attacker, causing some to begin whispering. Naruto had gained chakra shroud with 6 magatama around his neck and 2 distinctive pieces of hair like horns resembling the Sage of the Six Paths silhouette, along with a swirl design that resembles the Uzumaki clan's symbol. Naruto's chakra shroud is also covered by various other black lines and spiral patterns. Naruto had been informed that this was an imperfect form that his mother had fully achieved during her time as the second Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Remember when Kushina and Minato called Kyuubi his real name along with calling him uncle, thus is not its full power, and due to it being imperfect would only last 5 minutes. Despite this, he can produce chakra arms controlled by his parents within his mind, increasing even physical attacks effectiveness to near Anbu level, and also increased his flexibility using directions and the chakra arms itself as extra limbs. First minute, Naruto took off with a burst of speed, punching a bloody hole through the encirclement of Root Anbu, killing 5 shinobi in one burst. Creating another chakra-cloaked Kage Bunshin, Shadow Clone, to cover Tenten as she battled against Choji and 3 Root Anbu who were assisting him. The Shadow Clone took on the 3 Root Anbu so as to take pressure off Tenten, killing one before any of the 3 could react. Once again controlling the chakra arms directed the chakra arms to go underground and burst up and shishkib the remaining Root Anbu members and turned to ensure that no others would get in the way of Tenten's fight with Choji. Original Naruto quickly turned towards the main bulk of the group and said, "You idiots just couldn't let us go, huh? Dumb puppets of tyrants, and you Neji and Shikamaru, I have something special for you." As Naruto once again summoned chakra arms and charged. 2 minutes. Meanwhile with Tenten and Choji. Choji was glaring at Tenten, who was herself glaring right back, standing there for a few seconds as Tenten prepared a kunai and a katana, think the combat stance by Musashi Miyamoto. No words were spoken, there was no need, they both knew what the other thought of each other. Before Choji shouted Baika no jutsu, multi-size technique, causing his body to take on a round appearance, and Choji quickly shouted once again Nikudansensha, human bullet tank, as Choji began to spin rapidly to the point of appearing like a spinning ball and directed himself to strike Tenten and grind her to a bloody paste. Of course, Tenten, being older than Choji, dodged time and time again, showing an endurance that easily fitted her thin frame, while at the same time peppering the whole ground with exploding tags in preparation of her counterattack. She just smirked and whispered, "Katsu." A massive wide area explosion erupted all around where Choji was, causing him to be engulfed in flames. Tenten calmly walked towards the edge of the flames, which were quickly dying down as Tenten stood over the badly burnt Choji, who had burns all over most of his body and losing most of his hair on his head, think a fatter younger Shao Kahn, who he himself was screaming out in pain. Tenten looked at her opponent in disappointment and said, "I can't believe how easy it was to defeat you, you the next in line to the Akamaiki clan, defeated by a clan-less girl like me, how embarrassing." At this moment the shadow clone Naruto appeared and put his arm on Tenten's shoulder and whispered, "Tenten-chan, the boss is busy finishing of the last Root Anbu along with Neji and Shikamaru. You should go to where it's safe. It's fine, I'll be going with you to keep you safe, and besides the boss isn't in any danger." 3 minutes. With Naruto after the beatdown and massacre of the remaining Root Anbu. Naruto held the badly injured Neji and Shikamaru by their collars as all around them lay the bodies of more than 15 Root Anbu, some having been torn limb from limb by an enraged Naruto and swiftly pummeling the Neji and Shikamaru into submission. Naruto glaring at them both and angrily asked, "I trusted you as my comrades, both of you the smartest of our generation, couldn't see past your own family's lies about me. Where are those brains of yours that you are so praised for? Did they suddenly fall out of your heads? Where is the legendary logic that you two are famous for? Even your senseis knew better than you about the truth of my history." Creating a shadow clone, Naruto threw Neji at the clone and ordered, "Hold him while I chat with so-called genius over here." Making the clone smirk and nod its head, grabbing Neji by his hair, put Neji in a headlock, not enough to make him pass OIT but enough to keep him in place. Turning back to Shikamaru, he whispered angrily, "Do you know why I never trusted you in the academy, Shikamaru? Do you why I hated you so much that I avoided contact with many of you? It's because of what your families had done to me. To those I cared about. Do you know how many I lost because of your family? Out of a group 30 orphans that I befriended, only Tenten and Lear left. The rest was murdered, raped and sold into slavery. I couldn't even have any pets because of Konoha. Every single time I did, somebody would find out and they'd kill my pets in front of me. Hell, your frienda dad Choza ate my pets when they were still alive. So what makes you and all these people righteous in your mistreatment of me? What have I ever done to any of you that I deserved such a childhood, filled with loneliness and self-sacrifice? I wonder, should I do the same as I did to Ino, make you relive all of my worst memories? ... No, you don't deserve to, because I can feel your hatred. You don't care that I suffered. Unlike Ino, I can't at least make you regret, so you are worthless. I won't kill you. No, I will spare today. Now Shikamaru, Nara, go to sleep, bastard." With a quick chop to the neck, Shikamaru was rendered unconscious as he dropped on face down, causing him to break several teeth as Naruto let him drop on a small outcrop of stones and causing him to bite down on his tongue. Unknown to him, Shikamaru had seen his eyes flashing from its cerulean blue to crimson red and black. Remember during the introduction that I mentioned that Naruto always had his Sharingan turned on except hidden under a powerful hinge, instantly recognizing the Sharingan and literally gasping before falling into unconsciousness. Moving towards Neji and his clone, he roughly punches Neji, causing several teeth to fall out in the process before Naruto gestures for his clone to hold him up. Naruto glares at Neji as he himself glares right back before smirking and deciding to tell Neji one of his clan's darkest secrets regarding his father. Neji, stupid Bishonen fate boy, do you know why I tried to change your views of the world? No answer, huh? It's because I knew your father when I was a child. He and a few other Hyuga branch house members had rescued me from being beaten to death, until my usual rescuers, the Uchiha military police or Anbu teams led by Cat or Weasel, showed up to crack skulls. Now your father, he was different than other Hyuga I have met. He actually had a heart. He had compassion, something you lack even now. Personally, I think he would be ashamed of you. How you turned out, a bitter stupid boy, who can't see the truth even when it's staring at him in front of his face. He was one of the few adults that I could say that was kind to me. Hell, I felt safer hiding in the Uchiha compound where I was actually fed and brought back to health after a beating. It was always your father who would hand me over to the Uchiha clan to be cared for. Why? Because the hospital staff always tried to kill me with poison, in my food, in my water. Hell, one time they soaked my bed sheets with poison believing my skin would absorb it all. Most of you clan are scum. Even most of the branch house with the exception of your father and his closest friends could be regarded by me as good people. Do you know the real reason why your father was killed? And don't go believing what your scum of the earth uncle forced him to write. Your uncle and his elder council were fed up of him interfering with my punishments, so the council devised a plan to get him killed. They decided they needed bait to lure that idiot of a Kumo envoy to try to kidnap your cousin. Making sure that it was only your father that was on patrol with your uncle at the time, so only they could interfere with the kidnapping. When it was all over, your council was able to use his kind heart to force him to commit suicide. But you know what? He came to me before he died. He begged me to ensure that you would turn out to be just like him, a Hyuga with a heart. It seems his final wishes, like the fourth Hokage's final wishes, were once again unfulfilled. Shortly after all of his friends and their families were executed, Hokage Gigi couldn't do anything as it was a clan matter, so he couldn't even interfere as innocent people were murdered. I mourn for those who died. I mourn for your father tricked into committing suicide, your mother dying shortly after of a broken heart, shortly after they increased their efforts to punish me by murdering my friends. I tried helping you when we were younger, remember? I was trying to teach you compassion. Instead you listened to people that killed you parents. For that, Neji, you have failed them. Waiting for a response, Neji raised his head and laughed. Do you think I'd believe anything you say, demon? Your words are filled with lies. Fate has decreed that you will die, maybe not at my hands, but with another righteous Konoha shinobi. Who will purge your evil existence from this world. Naruto, hearing enough gestures for his clone to knock Neji out. 4 minutes. Naruto quickly created more clones who launched themselves into the battle while keeping a group of clones to protect Tenten, who herself charged alongside her own squad of clones right into the fray. Everywhere Naruto and his clones went, he relieved and rescued his friends, finally forcing the Anbu root forces to retreat, causing Naruto and his wounded allies to give a cheer of victory. 5 minutes end. With the battle seemingly over, Naruto's 5 minutes of using the Kyuubi chakra mode ending, causing him to slump to the ground exhausted as he heard his parents congratulating him in his mindscape as all of his clones dispelled and Tenten ran up to Naruto to catch him fall. Naruto wearily looked up and smiled at his new girlfriend. We won. Thank the sage. Tenten merely smiled and hugged Naruto and whispered into his ear, when we're safe and in one of the allied countries, I'm gonna show you how really proud you made me feel. Just as they were all finally feeling relieved, Jiraiya emerged from the treeline flinging 2 corpses of Anbu root, smiling at the crowd of shinobi as Asuma shakily walked up to the legendary Sannin and gave a salute. Unknown to everyone else, Naruto watching the scene felt a malevolent feeling coming from Jiraiya as Asuma and legendary Sannin started their conversation. Jiraiya smiled at the badly wounded former 13 Guardian member and laughingly said, "Holy crap, Asuma-san, if I knew you guys were gonna have a party I would have brought the booze and the ladies with me." Asuma gave a tired smile toward his senior and jokingly said, "Haha, Jiraiya-sama, we didn't know there was a party. It was a big surprise for us as well. We couldn't even bring out the sake before the dancing started." Jiraiya nodded. "It doesn't matter, get everyone organized, then we'll continue the party somewhere else." Naruto finally figured out what the malevolent feeling was. It was already too late. Just as Asuma was turning around to give out orders to get everyone ready, Jiraiya had already made a Rasengan in both his hands and had quickly shoved both into Asuma's unprotected back, crushing his spine completely as Jiraiya smiled evilly down on Asuma as he placed a gas mask in preparation. In the confusion, the second wave of hidden attackers used the same paralyzing agent as used on Tsunade, except in a gas form, causing all of the shinobi without gas masks to fall down paralyzed, unable to move, as Root Anbu rushed to restrain everyone including Naruto and Tenten, Tenten herself being dragged away by sadistic-looking Kakashi by her hair away from Naruto, leaving Naruto alone surrounded by Root Anbu with swords drawn. Asuma angrily growled, "Why, Jiraiya-sama? Why did you betray us?" Jiraiya evilly laughed. "Betray you? I didn't betray anyone. I helped capture a bunch of traitors to Konohagakure." Drawing a kunai, Jiraiya said, "Danzo Shimura sends his regards." And he plunged the blade into Asuma's skull, killing him instantly. Turning towards the crowd of prisoners, Jiraiya lifted up his arms and proclaimed, "By order of the three councils of Konohagakure no Sato and incumbent 6 Hokage Danzo Shimura, you are all hereby summarily executed for treason against Konohagakure no Sato and Hai no Kuni. Your executioner will be me. Line them all up in front of the demon. I want the demon to see its followers to die in front of it, and for the finale we will defile its little girlfriend. Everyone gets a turn, so let's begin." Kakashi grabbed Naruto by the hair and whispered, "Hello Naruto-chan, just like when you were younger, right?" Naruto glared at his supposed sensei with rage until he was punched in the face by Kakashi. "Do not look at me like that, demon. You deserved this, you and your goddamn whore of a mother. I was meant to be Yondaime-sama's only son, not you, so watch and learn that demons don't deserve to be happy. I was glad your mother died, if only you had died as well too." So it begun, the mass murder, a repeat of his blood-covered childhood. At first it was the many unnamed Chunin who had their throats slit, then they moved on to those he knew personally, the kind blacksmith Ryu Higurashi, as he nodded at Naruto with no regret in his eyes as his throat was slit by Jiraiya. Next came Tsuki, who opened his eyes and looked straight at Naruto, reassuring him, but a second later he died as well. His daughter had received special treatment as she was dragged away by Jiraiya and Kakashi and was stripped and repeatedly raped by the two men, easily overpowering the civilian ramen girl, who by the end was bruised and bleeding, cum coming from every hole in her body as Kakashi stood half with his father's white fang and plunged the sword repeatedly into her body, mutilating her corpse until Kakashi was covered in blood head to toe. During the whole ordeal, Naruto screamed for his sister, his screams of anger synchronizing with Ayame's screams as the less than controlled Root Anbu laughed at Naruto's anguish. In fact, if anyone was actually looking Naruto in the eyes, they would rapidly changing from cerulean blue to a patterned black and red. Of course nobody was looking, so it really didn't matter at the time. Kakashi turned back to Naruto and laughed as he kicked Ayame one last time. "You see this here? This is what you girlfriends is gonna look like very soon, so savor your last few minutes with your little girlfriend." Next came Iruka Yumino, one of Naruto's only friends in the academy and mentor, who called out to Naruto, "It's alright Naruto, you don't need to worry, I hope we'll meet each other one day," as Iruka closed his eyes as Jiraiya slit his throat. Just as he was about to move on and kill Rock Lee, a tree was thrown between Jiraiya and Lee. Emerging from the tree line was a battered and enraged Tsunade. When Tsunade spotted Jiraiya and all her murdered men and the mutilated corpse of Ayame, her rage spilt forward like a tsunami to engulf the land. "Jiraiya, Kakashi, I'm gonna kill you." A few minutes before, with Tenzo and Tsunade. Tenzo was kneeling in front of Tsunade with his ninjutsu on the ground, as Tsunade was dissolving the paralysis agent in her body as she heard the sounds of battle behind her. Tenzo himself merely looked at her expressionlessly and said, I am truly Tsunade-sama for your mistreatment, but we must eliminate all threats to the great Konohagakure no Sato. This we must kill the demon and all that support him. I apologize. When you are returned to the village you will be pumped full of pregnancy-enhancing drugs to renew the Senju clan. Wouldn't that be great? Tsunade-sama, you're going to become the mother to the next generation of Senju directly under Danzo-sama. Imagine it, Tsunade-sama, a renewed Senju and Uchiha clan will bring Konohagakure no Sato to a new golden age. At that moment Tsunade felt that she had been fully healed, and as Tenzo was kneeling Tsunade took a swing at his head, crushing Tenzo's skull under her fist, until Tsunade saw that it was in fact Moku Bunshin, wood clone. Looking around, Tsunade felt Tenzo's presence behind her. Tenzo, sounding apologetic, said, I am truly sorry Lady Tsunade, but I couldn't well attend to you by my real self, so I created a clone to watch over you, so please be calm so I do not damage your precious Senju womb. Tsunade, despite being still under the effects of the paralysis drug, managed to this time knock the real Tenzo, this time getting past Tenzo with her superior power by slipping past Tenzo's guard and hitting him and knocking the wind right out of him and also crushing his ribs. Despite this, Tsunade was only able to knock him into unconsciousness instead of plain killing Tenzo. Running past back to where their encampment was located and witnessed just in time the death of Iruka Yumino and the anguished cries of Naruto as he lost another friend, that's when she decided then and there to attack. Grabbing a tree and ripping it away from its roots, she threw it with all her might, stopping the execution of Rock Lee. Present time. Jiraiya. Kakashi. I am gonna kill you. Jiraiya, frightened, turned tail as Tsunade charged after him, attacking any route Anbuthar got in her way. Many did try to stop her but ended up getting punched so hard in the chest, so hard that their organs and ribs would explode from their back, killing all instantly. Before being distracted by calls for help from her last remaining followers, changing direction much to the relief of Jiraiya, instead targeted the route Anbu guarding her remaining followers and quickly summoning Katsuyu clones after breaking the bonds holding all of them down, who then proceeded to heal of each member one Katsuyu each follower. Meanwhile, Naruto, finding hope, suddenly struck back at the surrounding route Anbu members and finally being able to stand didn't see Kakashi charging with his father's chakra fang. Tsunade moved to intercept the attack and managed to push Naruto out of the way. Kakashi, now unable to stop his attack, impaled Tsunade with the chakra fang. As Naruto himself stood up stunned, he didn't notice Sasuke with a Chidori right behind him until he noticed Sasuke's hand sticking out of his chest. With a smirk, Sasuke ripped his hand away from Naruto's chest as Naruto fell forward, blood streaming down his mouth. As Naruto lay there struggling to live, his lungs destroyed from a Chidori strike pumped more frothy blood from his mouth and wound in his chest, as he, a vision blurred as he saw Tsunade lay near him and Tenten and his remaining friends once again restrained, only to be interrupted by Sasuke putting his foot on Naruto's shoulder, causing him to scream out in pain. Jiraiya, finally regaining his wits, walked slowly towards the two wounded blondes. Tsunade slowly turned her head towards the approaching Jiraiya, who stopped just a few steps near each blonde's head. Looking angrily at Tsunade, he angrily exclaimed, "You stupid dumb woman. You would sacrifice your life for this thing, this demon, why?" "Wait, no, it doesn't matter, I know exactly why you sacrificed your life for this little shit. You once told me that he reminded you of your fiancé Dan Kato and your brother Nawaki Senju. You have no idea until now how close you were to the truth behind his heritage." Through coughs of blood, Tsunade was barely able to mumble, "What?" By now Naruto, despite being in pain, was also listening intently despite Sasuke having his foot on his. Jiraiya, turning towards Naruto after he noticed Naruto trying to listen, motioned for Sasuke to stop, making Sasuke to scold in anger and angrily asked, "Why do I need to stop? It doesn't matter who the demon was related to." Jiraiya shook his head in annoyance and answered, "But it does, Sasuke-san. You see, his bloodline is extremely important as a weapon as well for the village, and besides, they are all going to die very soon anyway, so let's give both of them the absolution." Sasuke thought about it for a few seconds until finally nodding, "As long as I get first go with the demon's girlfriend over there, then fine, do whatever you want." Jiraiya smiled a devious grin and nodded in agreement as Sasuke backed away from Naruto's dying body. Jiraiya once again began to speak. Now where was I? Oh right, I was gonna tell you, Harem princess, why you were reminded so much of your brother and fiancé in this little demon. It began with your brother. Truth be told, I liked him. He was a good kid, always smiling and helping people. Problem was he was your brother, a senju, and in case of your death, future clan head. My father, he wouldn't have that. We needed a weak clan head for the senju clan, or what remained of it. Father also really wanted to have the Mokuton, would release bloodline, and his last male heir to the Senju clan. Your brother, despite not displaying the bloodline, was a feasible body to harvest for parts, as father already was experimenting on ways to obtain the bloodline, including just digging up the first Hokage's body and taking DNA samples to try to obtain the bloodline. So father decided to order a mission, or more like a trap. We set up an ambush with explosive tags littering the area of where their mission was meant to be. His body was ripped apart. Tsunade, you should have seen it, it was so funny. Oh, Orochimaru-san really did tried to save Nawaki. I mean, he summoned Manda in an attempt to save his dying student, but it was already too late. He had died en route to the nearest medic station, where secretly Root Anbu replaced the medic nin station there, where after Orochimaru lost consciousness they proceeded to harvest your brother's corpse of any organs they could get. The body Orochimaru and the remaining members of his squad was incomplete. Looking at his former teammate's tearful face, he smiled. He was enjoying seeing Tsunade like this. He thought to himself, I am such a sadist. Before continuing, we continued to experiment on the harvested parts for years without success. Personally, the only reason that I even helped was so I could get to love me. The plan was that you in your grief-stricken state would be emotionally weak, so I could get you to easily fall in love with me, so me and my father could finally gain access to the Senju Jutsu archives. Jiraiya grimaced and glared at this woman who had rejected him so many times before, continuing once again. But things didn't work out as planned. You rejected me again and again. In your attempt to begin a proper medic nin program, you closed yourself off. I thought you'd come out of it eventually, so I waited. But I waited too long. You fell in love with that blue-haired bastard Dan Kato, so as a form of revenge I asked my father and mother to advise the Hokage to reject your proposal due to lack of funding and personnel. Jiraiya crossed his arms and shook his head in frustration. I thought you two would fall apart quickly with nothing holding you two together. I thought I'd get my chance soon to take you as mine. Instead, after waiting 3 months and you two announced to the whole village that you two were engaged. And to his insult, to what I believed was a great injustice to me, you also announced that you were pregnant 1 month along. Jiraiya's face grew darker as he continued what he was saying. I got angry, so I told my father and mother to prepare another assassination. This time it was Dan Kato that needed to die. So we devised a plan. First, they would set up a mission that was important for national security, so it was imperative that it be fulfilled as ordered. You and Dan Kato and a few other Chunin would attack a supposed bandit camp. Unknown to either of you, one of the Chunin sent was an undercover Root Anbu who spiked your water bottles with a type of medicine that messed with a person's chakra network, making medic nin useless. I was nearby too, waiting for my chance to stick a bunch of kunai laced with a poison that when a medic nin tried to use any medical technique, it wouldn't heal the person, it would actually cause his body to shut down and cause internal bleeding, killing them even as a medic nin was attempting to heal the victim. Coupled with the chakra disrupting medicine and the poison I used, Dan Kato died in his own pool of blood. Jiraiya looked frustrated, but he calmed down enough to continue speaking. But once again, a loved one's death screwed you up. You developed hemophobia, blood fear, and shortly afterward you went into a coma while pregnant. So I secretly devised a plan to get my revenge on that bastard Dan Kato from beyond the grave. I waited 8 months until you were about to give birth. The doctors and nurses had decided to do a C-section to get the child out, so I disguised myself, and just as the baby was being removed from your womb, I knocked out everyone. Earlier on, I found some street whore's dead baby. It's so much like you that I paid that whore 500 yen. I replaced your real child with the whore's dead baby and took you child away with me without anyone knowing any better. Everybody believed that the child died in the womb, but I knew more than they did. While you were in a coma, I decided to kill off the Kato family but spared the niece of yours because I believed she had potential for a whore when she's fully grown. turning towards the restrained Shizunen gave her a lecarious grin and licking his lips before saying, "And why had she really grown to be a beautiful woman?" Jiraiya once again smirked and deviously grinned towards Tsunade, who was in tears at the revelation that her child was still alive, as Jiraiya himself relished in the knowledge that she would never get to know who her child was. "I took the child to an orphanage without anyone noticing and left the child under a false name, where he was raised quite nicely until he was ready for the academy, where the child displayed that great Senju genius brains that you were all famous for and was proclaimed as a prodigy by all his teachers. During that time your grandmother was already dying, so sensei asked for a Uzumaki child to become the next host for the Kyuubi no Kitsune. It was funny when they sent Kushina after father manipulated sensei into asking for a girl instead of a boy so that we could turn the girl the Uzumaki clan sent into breeding stock for the village. At the same time father had decided to enact an old project of his passed down from his ancestors right back to the time of the Sage of Six Paths. He decided that the Uzumaki clan was becoming too powerful for anyone's comfort, so he persuaded Kurigakure no Sato, Iwagakure no Sato and Kumogakure no Sato to attack Uzu no Kuni, homeland of the Uzumaki clan. It took only 5 days to wipe them out using our root Anbu that were sent to help in the country's defense led by me, the Toad Sage of Konohagakure no Sato. While they were preoccupied we attacked them from behind. Oh, the amount of Uzumaki women I raped was enough to fill 10 books of ICHA, but we couldn't even steal anything of value, though no jutsu scrolls, no fuinjutsu sealing techniques, scrolls, not even any artifacts, because they had all those in Uzumaki blood seals all over them all. Turning towards Naruto this time he smiled and said, "That's why we needed this demon alive for so long." Sensei was so oblivious to what we were doing. Even in front of his face we were making fun of him. Senile old bastard didn't know that we were planning to use the demon's need for companionship to turn it into a mindless weapon that would eventually be used to allow us to steal all of Uzu no Kuni's treasures by using one of the demon's future brots by draining it of all its blood enough to steal of the scrolls we could want. But back to the story of how the demon reminds you so much of your loved ones. The answer is the name I gave your child, which was actually a boy. I gave him the name Minato Namikaze, also known as the Yellow Flash of Konoha, and father of Naruto Uzumaki and husband of that twice-damned woman Kushina Uzumaki. You didn't know this because at the time you were suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and left soon afterwards with your niece Shizune after learning that your child had died in the womb, so you never even got to see your real son grow into the perfect fighting tool this village had to offer. Pointing his hands towards Naruto, so you see the demon, also known as Naruto Uzumaki, is also your grandson through your unknown son Minato and his wife Kushina Uzumaki. We were planning to assassinate Minato and Kushina, and we would have went forward with the operation if it weren't for the Kyuubi attack came and gave my father the chance to go into the shadows to pull the civilian council strings from behind sensei's back. It was father and mother who always encouraged those who wanted to kill the demon. Heck, they even made promises that they wouldn't spend a day in jail if they were caught hurting the demon. Instead, they would be secretly rewarded with money or favors that could be fulfilled at any time. Besides, father has a vision of a unified elemental continent under Hai no Kuni, land of fire, and to do that we needed to kill off any that could have resisted. That included most of the Senju clan apart from you and one member of the Uchiha and Uzumaki clans that could be spared. Actually, father was pivotal in killing off all 3 clans. What an achievement to have killed off the 3 strongest clans in known history. I could have had taken you back to Konoha to be one of my many brides, but no, you had to go and try to save this demon brat. Well, I can't change anything now, so die now, Tsunade Senju, last of your great clan, along with your demon spawn of a grandson. As Jiraiya slowly raised his kunai to stab Tsunade through the heart, his hand was stopped just short of Tsunade's face by a hand grabbing his before he could deliver the killing blow. Tsunade slowly stood up and glared at Jiraiya, who himself was trying his best to force Tsunade to let go of his hand as it was slowly but surely crushed as Tsunade, with a determined and angry glare, shouted, "Infuin Kai, Yin Seal. Release, this is my last stand, Jiraiya. I will save my grandson even if it cost me my life." As Tsunade threw Jiraiya aside, his hand completely useless, Jiraiya looked up as Tsunade exclaimed, I will not allow my grandson to die while I live. I won't allow the last of my family, my only grandchild to die, this I swear on my honor. Seisai Sozo, creation rebirth, as all her injuries began to heal including the stab wound in her chest, lines appeared originating from the diamond on her forehead which only took a space of only 5 seconds to finish. Quickly leaping into action, Tsunade's spear tackled Sasuke and quickly threw him towards the crowd of opposing shinobi including the surprised Kakashi, while Tsunade quickly went through another Kuchio's no jutsu to summon more Katsuya to defend her. Soon after of the gigantic slug respectfully asked, "Tsunade-sama, how am I of service?" Tsunade punched a root anbu away from her and quickly answered, "Katsuya, I need you to form up a defensive barrier using your clones. Keep everyone back while I heal Naruto, please." "It shall be done, my lady," as Katsuya was already breaking apart and attacking anybody that Katsuya perceived as a threat to her master. Turning her attention back to Naruto, she saw Naruto's eyes closed made her run frantically to him and quickly kneeling down and shouting, "Shosen no jutsu." Mystical palm technique. As Tsunade was healing her grandson, she was crying desperately, attempting to awaken her unconscious grandson. "Please, number. Not again, I won't lose you too. Naruto, please open your eyes. Please don't die, no. I won't let you die, even if I have to pump all of my chakra into you, I will." Little did Tsunade know that beings beyond her lifetime were themselves awakening to assist the last heir to the 3 clans of the sage and within the seal, these being met to help unlock Naruto's destiny even as he lay dying. Kushina and Minato themselves been frantic, attempting to harass the Kyuubi, also known as Kurama, by his family and friends into assisting in the healing process started by Tsunade. Kurama himself was in a meditation pose, sending as much of his purified yukai as Naruto's body could take without falling apart. "You have to hurry, Oji-san, Naruto-chan is dying, please." Opening one of his big eyes, Kurama answered in his booming voice, "I know, Kushina-chan, but you have to understand, he only just used Kyuubi chakra mode. His body is still recovering as it is right now. I can't send too much yukai or his body will cease to function, so please be patient. I am doing what I can to help." Meanwhile, with Minato, he was left contemplating that he was in fact the son of Tsunade Senju. He could have been clan head of the Senju clan if it weren't for his traitorous backstabbing sensei, maybe even help revive both of their clans if it had been possible. His thoughts returned to his only son as he was about to ask a question to Kurama. He suddenly saw the environment change around them. All 3 of the known occupants stood around gaping at their environment. They were standing on a pool of water with a clear waveless surface. Suddenly a strong but old voice called out to all 3 of them, "I see that my heir is in deep trouble. If you wish to help him, then please come closer." Kurama, hearing the voice, widened his eyes in surprise as his ears also perked up. "That voice, I haven't heard that voice for a very long time. Not since my creation and my childhood have I last heard that voice. Is that you, father?" "Ah, Kurama, my son, if you really want proof, then come to my voice. Don't worry, I won't bite, but if you don't wanna come to me, then I'll come to you instead." As footsteps could be heard nearby every second, the sound of footsteps coming closer. Kushina, appearing nervous, looked up to Kurama and asked, Oji-san, who's that calling to us? I don't recognize his voice from anywhere." Looking down at his former container and relative, he answered while patiently waiting, "Remember my stories to you when you were younger, Kushina-chan, about how I had a father and siblings, both human and Biju? Well, you two get ready, you two are about to meet my creator. My father, Hagoromo Otsutsuki." Kushina, the first of the 2 to figure out who it was that was coming their way, widened her eyes as she whispered in awe, "The bringer of peace and order, the Raikudo Sennin, sage of 6 paths, our ancestor." Slowly a man's shape was coming to view, finally coming to a stop just beyond eyesight range, as if hesitating before bring himself into the light. The Raikudo Sennin, his real name Hagoromo Otsutsuki. In his old age, Hagoromo had deep wrinkles, a long goatee reaching his waist, and short, grayish-red shaggy hair, which spiked up at the top, and a chin-length braid hanging in front of his left ear. Hagoromo had pronounced eyebrow ridges with small horn-like protrusions above them, as well as a red rinnegan-like marking in the center of the forehead. He wore a white, full-length kimono with a pattern of 6 magatama around a high collar, beneath which he wore a necklace which was also made up of magatama. On the back of his cloak was a larger rinnegan-like marking with a pattern of 9 magatama arranged in 3 rows. Hagoromo, looking up towards his son, smiled and said, "Ah, Kurama-chan, you don't look so little anymore, do you, my son? And I feel that much of your hatred is gone as well. You have learned to love and forgive, and I would like to say, Kurama-chan, that I am proud of you." The Kyuubi lowered its great head in submission. "Father, I thought I'd never see you again." The sage raised his hand to stop him. "No tears, my child, I am here because I need to be here. It's so that we can finally reclaim our true homeland with the combined reincarnation of your brothers leading the way." Turning towards the awestruck Minato and Kushina, he smiled at them both and asked, "State your name and ancestry. I know which one of my 3 sons you are both descended from, but I want to hear it from you." Kushina went first, but not before looking at Minato, who gave her a kind smile. "My name is Kushina Uzumaki, daughter of Prince Takamori Uchiha Uzumaki, and my mother Saya Uzumaki, granddaughter of the Saotaicho of all of Uzu no Kuni's military forces Madara Uchiha, and my grandmother Princess Yuna Uzumaki, the last daimyo of Uzu no Kuni and mother to Naruto Uzumaki." Hagoromo nods and replies, "You, Kushina-san, have a great and prestigious line, and your son has a great legacy to live up to, but I sense that he will rise above it. Your bloodline from your grandfather, once slowly covered by darkness, had been cleansed by your grandmother, who brought your grandfather from the darkness itself to be one of the most honorable men to able to grace this land. Kushina Uzumaki, my descendant from my eldest and youngest son, your blood will help the world to be led into peace." Shortly after, Minato stepped forward and took a deep breath. "My name is Minato Nami, I mean Senju, the 4th Hokage, son of Dan Kato and Tsunade Senju, granddaughter of Hashirama Senju, Senju clan head, and Princess Mito Uzumaki of Uzu no Kuni." Hagoromo nods before answering, "Ah, my middle child's descendant and a little bit of my youngest son as well. Your path will always lead you into the light to peace. Your wife is your yin while you are her yang, while your son has the blood of all 3 clans in his veins, his yin and yang perfectly balanced, and also something very unusual had occurred. Your son can unlock a power greater than mine, with some assistance of course." Both of Naruto's parents both had questioning looks all over their faces before Minato asked, "What do you mean power greater than yours? What could be more powerful than you, the sage of 6 paths?" Hagoromo nods silently before answering, "All right, for your first question, the answer is the one person I admit is actually much more stronger than me is my own mother. She ate the fruit from the Shinju God tree, unlocking the power of the gods. She was the one who came before me, who brought peace to the world with the immense power she received. All in all, she was the closest thing you can have to a living god. Heck, me and my brother, my twin, are scared to death of her." Kushina this time asked her question, Not to be rude, Otsutsuki-sama, but who is gonna help?" The sage of 6 paths Hagoromo Otsutsuki smiled. "Of course, as much of our family as possible, like my 3 sons and my mother, hopefully my brother, your grandfathers and grandmothers. I can summon them here, their souls, to finally unlock the power that was destined to be claimed." Kushina and Minato both nod, with Minato answering for them both, "If it can save our son, we do not care." Hagoromo nods, "Listen to me, I am gonna summon my family, but I need your son to manifest with the Shinigami mask to summon the remaining members. With our combined effort, that seal covering your son's eyes will finally be removed, and we can perform the ritual that will give him the necessary power to do what needs to be done." "We agree. Good, let's begin. I'll begin with summoning who I could." With this, the sage of 6 paths used his staff by tapping the water on the floor, causing small waves to spread in all directions. Shortly after, balls of glowing water float above the water and begins to take humanoid shape. First the arms and legs and the head. 6 balls of water are summoned and take shape. Then these humanoids begins to take on features to people important to Naruto's parents. The first is Mito Uzumaki Senju, who had long, bright red hair and large, pupilless eyes. She wore an elaborate, high-collared kimono with the Uzushiogakure symbol on the back of the obi, which was tied around her waist. Her hair was arranged in buns with hair pins in them and 3 clips in the front. She also wore a dark shade of red lipstick and had a violet-colored diamond mark on her forehead, similar to that of her granddaughter Tsunade. She also wore tags with kanji written on them in her hair decals. The next person was a crimson-haired man with a clean-shaven face wearing a black kimono with long sleeves that had the Uzumaki and Uchiha clan symbols on the upper sleeves and a dark blue samurai covering his body. This was Takamori Uchiha Uzumaki, Kushina Uzumaki's father. The third person was another woman with dark hair grown long into a ponytail very similar to Kushina and coal-black eyes and a sharp chin of predominant Uchiha wearing a elegant blue dress with a sash tied around her chest. This was Kushina's Uchiha mother Saya Uzumaki ne Uchiha. The fourth person was another red-haired woman very similar in facial features to Mito Senju herself due to them being sisters. This woman was Yuna Uzumaki, the last daimyo of Uzu no Kuni and Kushina's grandmother, with a round face inherent in all pure Uzumaki covered with straight red hair flowing out in behind her reaching just above her waist. She was wearing a crimson dress with a golden sash around her waist with the back of her dress sporting the Uzumaki spiral symbol. Her outfit was completed with a simple yet elegant headdress, showing her status as daimyo. The final person to appear was Madara, grandfather of Kushina Uzumaki and husband of Yuna Uzumaki, a fair-skinned man with spiky, black hair that had a slight, blue tint to it, his hair reaching waist-length and shoulder-length bangs framing the sides of his face, covering most of his right eye. His attire consisting of maroon armor with numerous metal plates, forming protective guards along his chest, waist, shoulders and thighs. This clothing under the armor was a indigo long-sleeved shirt with a knee-length mantle, pants, open-toed boots, gloves. He also wore his newly adopted village's forehead protector with the spiral symbol on and black headband. These 5 that were summoned were the only ones of their family that weren't claimed by the Shinigami, such as Mito's husband Hashirama Senju and his brother Tobarama Senju, plus most of Minato Namikaze's soul that weren't sealed in his son. At this moment all 5 were looking around confused as to where they actually were before seeing those people around them, Madara himself widening his eyes at the sight of the Sage of Six Paths standing among them. Madara decided to sum up what everyone was thinking at the moment and shouted, "What the hell is going on here? Why the hell is the Sage of Six Paths here too?" This was complete with him pointing along with his shouting, "Madara-kun, you're here." That was before being tackled to the ground by his wife from behind, much to everyone's embarrassed looks, with Mito herself face-palming in embarrassment for her sister's actions. After maybe a minute of crying and laughing between the two of them, Madara himself reluctantly had to pry his wife off him to begin speaking. Fixing up his clothes and armor to look more dignified in front of everyone present, "Okay, now I really wanna know what the hell is going on. Why the hell are we all here? Is it that twice damned Edo Tensei summoning impure world resurrection? Because if it is, I'm gonna shove my gun by straight up Tobarama's for trying to summon us. Anyway, where the hell are we, and why have you summoned us?" The Sage of Six Paths nodded before answering, "Madara Uchiha, to answer your questions, the first being that no, this is not Edo Tensei. You were summoned by me, the Sage of Six Paths, to assist us in performing a ritual that will unlock your great-grandson's eyes and power of his body, and we are currently present within a special part of his mindscape where we can speak to one another in peace. Of course I wouldn't do this if the situation wasn't so dire that I myself would need to personally intervene." Madara's wife Yuna Uzumaki decided to ask her own question as well. "Wait a minute, what could the situation be that it forced you, our own ancestor, to personally intervene to save our combined descendant's life?" The sage breathed a sigh of sadness. "Our combined descendant is dying from a large hole in his chest. It was done by his traitorous teammate behind him while he was distracted." At this, Madara's voice grew malevolent and took on a very deep voice similar to a Biju's voice as he growled, "What? WHO was the bastard. WHO tried to murder my last living descendant. So when I meet the bastard, I will personally tear them limb from limb." Madara's wife tried to calm him down by placing her hand on his shoulder to attempt to calm him down. Feeling his wife's worried feeling behind him, quickly calmed down, although he was taking deep breaths and clenching his fist so tight he had pierced his hands with his nails. This went on for about a minute before he completely composed himself. Mito decided to join in this conversation with her own thoughts. When you said that he was our combined descendant, what is my relation? Oh, this boy Naruto. The sage nodded before answering. Well, Mito-san, Naruto Uzumaki is your great-great-grandson from your granddaughter Tsunade Senju and her fiancé Dan Kato, although due to her traitorous teammate she only just recently found out she had a grandson herself, and right now she doing her very best to save his life. Although without our help it is a losing battle. Then where is my husband, my brother-in-law and my son and daughter-in-law? Shouldn't they be here too? The sage shook his head and looked at them in the eyes. Unfortunately, Hashirama and Tobirama plus most of your great-grandson's soul is actually sealed away in the Shinigami gut due to the Shiki Fuujin, sealing style, Reaper death seal during an attempted invasion of the leaf. In the case of your husband and brother-in-law, they were sealed away by your brother-in-law's own student due to both of them being turned into mindless puppets to be used against the third Hokage, who also sealed away his own soul as payment. While your own descendant had used the Shiki Fuujin to seal away half of the Kyuubi no Kitsune's chakra inside his own son, who was a newborn at the time. During the childbirth, the Kyuubi was extracted from your Jinchuriki successor Kushina Uzumaki, granddaughter of your sister Yuna Uzumaki Uchiha, and your brother-in-law Madara Uchiha had also died due to the extraction of her Biju. Although both of Naruto's parents had left the last of their chakra in the form of shadow clones sealed away in his mindscape, in case of situations such as this they could intervene and protect him and your son and his wife. Well, I know they already died, but it seems I can't summon their souls for some reason. I cannot fulfill the final ritual if I don't have their assistance, so I'm gonna contact someone that could assist us even better than any of us. Mito nods and then asks, Sage-sama, who are you gonna try to contact? Hagoromo smiled but then shuddered. The person I'm gonna summon isn't a regular soul anymore. No, the person I'm gonna contact is a person that had after death had become the very embodiment of death itself. My mother, the rabbit goddess Kagaya Otsutsuki, the thief of the fruit of the Shinju god tree, had been punished for her crime of stealing the sacred fruit, was to be turned into the Shinigami, becoming also a extremely special summon of my youngest son's descendants. Special being that if anyone not of Uzumaki blood attempts to summon my mother, she has permission to eat their souls. The best summoning at this moment is using the Shinigami mask, but for me I can summon her without it, although we still need the Shinigami mask to remove their souls from my mother's stomach. Takamori finally, after listening to all his relatives talking, spoke himself. Sage-sama, the last Shinigami mask was sent with Kushina-chan to Konoha to be placed in the Uzumaki mask storage temple to be protected. Of course I knew that, and your descendant is very smart. Before fleeing, Konoha had stolen the Shinigami mask from the temple. Before blowing it up and fleeing, now then I will begin to summon my mother, so please stand back. I need to open a Senkaimon, world protection gate, to bring her to this mindscape. Oh boy, isn't she gonna be pissed. RHE Sage of Six Paths hefted his shokuho and began the process of opening the Senkaimon. It takes the form of a traditional Japanese waiting room entered through a shoji. It can be opened by using a spiritual tool as a key. The method requires simply placing the spiritual tool in front of the user and inserting it into the spatial area one wants the Senkaimon to appear before turning the tool like a key. As the crease of the door appears and fully opens, another door beyond it opens, releasing one of the safety mechanisms of this summoning, the Jigokucho, Hell Butterfly, used for safe passage through the Senkaimon. Currently with the open, a breath of warm air reminiscent of a spring breeze comes from beyond the Senkaimon before a huge reishi signature is felt from beyond the Senkaimon as quiet sandaled footsteps are heard within before a voice was heard from beyond, a voice filled with so much power but also gentle and feminine at the same time. Oh Hagoromo-chan, why do you call me of all times? You never call or visit. Was I such a bad mother for you and your brother not to love me so? Your need seems great for you to contact me after so long, so I'm coming over. It would give time to lecture you on your manners. Slowly from within the light-filled doorway came the shape of a person, female in shape and movement, elegant as a noblewoman but as dangerous as a tiger. Stepping into her descendant's mindscape, everyone got a full sight of Kagaya Otsutsuki, also known as the god, or in this case goddess of death. She was a woman in possession of very delicate facial features. Kagaya also had long, sweeping light-colored hair that touched the ground. Most noticeably were two horn-like protrusions which stuck out from her head, appendages inherited by both her sons. Kagaya possessed the Byakugan, and also had a third eye in the center of her forehead, that's eyelids parted vertically. Her eyebrows were cut very short, a symbol of nobility, and she wore a dark shade of lipstick on her lips and a dark shade of nail polish on her long fingernails. She wore the transitional high-collared Harem kimono, which was adored with intricate lines and tomo running down the center and edges of the gown. Her appearance was a huge surprise to everyone present, especially the Uzumaki clan members present, as a few had seen manuscripts of what the Shinigami Queen actually looked like was nothing compared what they were all seeing right this moment was not why they were expecting. For one thing, due to the Shinigami's manifestations during summoning rituals and using Shiki, Fujin always appeared as a translucent gaunt specter with a demonic visage. It is much larger than an average human, possessing long, shaggy white hair, from which two red horns protrude, and dark grayish-blue colored skin. It is draped in a large white garments and carries a set of prayer beads. When not using it, the Shinigami is almost always seen with a tanto in its mouth. When removed, however, its mouth is revealed to be full of sharp, jagged teeth, and a very long, almost serpentine tongue. Kagaya herself was looking around curiously as if to figure out where she was before she spotted her son in the small crowd of her descendants and slowly walked up to her now shuddering son, who despite looking older than her was slowly kneeling down in subjugation. Moving her hands across his head and hair, she whispered, "My little boy, my firstborn son, by a few seconds, how are you? Are you well? And why must I be here when I am meant to be ruling the dead?" Hagoromo, taking a deep shuddering breath, spoke, "Mother, our need is great. Our family's blood had finally stabilized within our descendant who carries all three of my son's blood within him. Right now he is dying from a great betrayal and his grandmother is doing her best to heal him. Mother, I need the souls of Hashirama Senju and Tobarama Senju assist us in order to heal his wounds and fully unlock his power, please mother." Shaking her horned head, Kagaya spoke, "Their lives were forfeit when their student asked me to seal them away in exchange for his soul. They remain within me now and I see no one wielding my summoning mask, so I can't even be forced to release them anyway. But I sense that our descendant is meant for greater things and I feel the Parthenon of the other kami would not be happy if I let their chosen one die just to keep some souls in my belly. So I agree. Now summon our descendant here while I bring both of them out, okay?" Appearing with his great body in subjugation, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, also known as Kurama, spoke, "Grandmother, it is a great honor to finally meet you after so long. Please accept us the Biju as you grandchildren, we who were born from your son and the Shinju's chakra. I ask this of you, O grandmother, as my human brothers had accepted us the Biju. I ask that you accept us as well." Smiling at her pseudo-grandson, she moved to put her hand on his head, then smiled. "O Kurama-chan, when you were born I was present for you and your siblings' births. You were such a lovely-looking kid with your puffy cheeks and childish eyes and long bunny-like ears, and when I saw all of you cry for your father I knew you were no longer the emotionless being that the Shinju was. In that moment I had already accepted you and your siblings as my grandchildren. It's just I haven't been able to make contact with any of you, other than when I was summoned to do something I couldn't manifest myself until now. Now that a Senkaimon has been opened, though I can now freely manifest myself in my less intimidating form, I'm gonna make it up to you and your siblings. Now stand up, you are no servant that needs to constantly bow." Kurama lifted his head with tears coming out of his eyes. "Thank you, grandmother. I will always honor you as one of your grandchildren." Nodding, Kagaya moves off to the side to begin regurgitating the Senju brother, which happened by her reaching down her throat and seemingly spitting two balls of light onto the mindscape, where they quickly take the forms of the Senju brothers in their prime. Less than a few seconds later, both were looking around before Hashirama Senju spoke after facing his brother. "Do you see this, brother? We've been revived again due to your foolish creating of the Edo Tensei of yours. How many times do you have to be revived for all of this to stop?" Tobirama, in one of his legendary thinking poses without looking at his older brother before closing his eyes and answering, Be silent, brother. If this was the Edo Tensei, I would know about it. Besides, it looks like we are fully alive instead of being summons. Beside, there isn't even any cracks running along our bodies to indicate that this was in fact Edo Tensei, so stop jumping to conclusions, brother. Both brothers' argument was stopped dead by a huge killing intent that made their blood run cold. Facing them was a woman with two horn-like pieces on her head who smiled sweetly before speaking. Tobarama Senju, do you know who I am? What? No answer. Then I'll present myself. My name Kagaya Otsutsuki, mother of the Sage of Six Paths, and now I am known as the Shinigami. Your so-called technique Edo Tensei is a great affront to me, the embodiment of death itself. To forcefully take souls from my care, I should tear your soul apart forever to wander the world. Would you like that, Tobarama-san? Because you creating that technique, you may as well be a good punishment. But no, that isn't the Edo Tensei. I brought you out of my stomach so you can help out your family. Tobarama lost his composure and quickly nodded his head before in a frightened voice asked, what would you need our assistance for, Shinigami-sama? It is not I that needs your assistance, it is my son who wishes for your assistance. Walking up between the two Senju brothers, Hagoromo coughed to get their attention. Excuse you three, but we need you two and everyone else to begin the ritual to awaken his power. With this, the two Senju brothers moved towards the circle of people, Tobarama and Madara glaring at one another until Madara had his ears clipped by his wife, while Tobarama was stopped by killing intent coming from his brother and sister-in-law. Back to Kagaya and Hagoromo, both were looking in each other's eyes before Hagoromo takes a deep breath. Okay, mother, what do you want to know about Naruto-chan? Still keeping a straight face, Kagaya answered, yes, I just want to know what our descendant's life was like up to this point. Are you sure, mother? His life up to this point was a living hell. If you were to view it, I want you to promise me that you won't go into a rampage over what you see in his memories. Oh, calm down, Hagoromo-chan, I'm a goddess of death, I think I can handle it. That's the thing, I can barely restrain myself when I viewed his memories. Mother, how would you react to his memories? Hagoromo thought with a sad expression. Shaking his head, Hagoromo moves up to his mother and poked her in the forehead, letting the memories pour into her head. It only took 2 seconds for all the memories to be processed, before Kagaya lifted her head in rage as a very dark chakra cloak began to surround her as her face was simultaneously being covered, the traditional Hanya mask that she was known to manifest when summoned via Shiki Fujin. Although this rage only lasted for 30 seconds before the chakra cloak dissipated, causing Kagaya to kneel on the ground and her Hanya mask to shatter to reveal that she had tears running down her cheeks. Shaking her head in anguish, I should have been there, I was the one that sealed away Kurama-chan, I should have watched over him, cares for him like a guardian should have done. I swear on my blood, when each of those Konoha scum die, I will throw their souls in the most deepest pits of hell to be tortured for all eternity. I swear to you, Naruto-chan, my descendant, I will support you in any endeavor you do, I will support you. Putting his hand on his mother's shoulder, he whispered, Mother, I know you hold regret, but put it aside for when your anger is needed, not right now. We need to concentrate on the current situation at hand, and that needs a calm, clear mind, okay? Receiving a nod of agreement from his mother, good, now let's summon our descendant. Tapping the water's surface, Naruto's body materializes in the middle of the circle of his relatives, his body covered in blood. Even here within his mind he was bloodied. His bloodied form caused Madara, his wife and son, and his own wife to start leaking killing intent, worryingly causing some of the other to nearly take up fighting stances, although this was stopped when they heard Naruto's sobbing. Uruka-sensei, Tsuki-jisan, Ayame Nisan, Yugao Nisan, Asuma Nisan, Ryu-san, Azumo and Katetsu, I have failed you. I couldn't help you. I couldn't save you. Damn Konoha, goddamn you all. Hagoromo had a worried look on his face as he watched his descendant cry out for vengeance. Wait, before we begin, I wanna check something about his chakra signature. Tapping the water near Naruto, 2 images appeared in the water. The first one had long black hair cut short on top, with 2 locks wrapped in bandages framing either side of his face. His eyebrows were cut short, a symbol of his nobility, and his eyes had markings around his eyes which were turned up at the corners. He wore a high-collared, light-colored kimono held closed by a dark sash. Around the collar of the kimono was adorned with magatama, under which he wore a black full-bodied suit. Indra, looking at the other reflection in the water, looked like a dark-haired version of Naruto. This person had short, spiky hair, 2 locks of which were wrapped in bandages framing either side of his face in a similar manner to his brother. He also wore what seemed to be a blank forehead protector. He wore a light-colored kimono which was adorned with magatama around the collar. The kimono was held closed by a dark-colored sash. Underneath all of this he wore a black full-body suit. Ashura. This is unprecedented. Both of my son's souls contained within his body. Thankfully my youngest didn't even fight, so he didn't need to be reincarnated, but this just proves that Naruto is the true heir to the throne of the West. To have both sides of my 2 eldest sons, maybe he can claim my Zanpakuto as well if he's strong enough. Shaking his head he called out, Indra, Ashura, rise. With that the 2 reflections rose out of the water, standing up with their eyes closed. Opening their eyes they saw their father and grandmother with several other people they didn't recognize but felt that they were familiar, before locking eyes with each other, causing both to draw their weapons, but were stopped by their father, who had jumped between them and stopped them both. Ashura, Indra, you will both calm down or I will knock you both around like when you 2 were children. Both young men blanched and moved their hands back from their weapons before the elder of the 2 brothers. Indra asked in a serious tone of voice, Father, what is happening here? Who are these people? I thought we have both long since died. The younger brother, the one who resembled Naruto, the Ashura, asked the same question. Yeah, why are we here? I don't think this is a family reunion, so it must be bloody important, right? And who the hell is that kid and why does he look like me? Hagoromo nods in response before answering, well, yes, you are both right. This isn't just some family reunion. These people are actually your descendants, and the boy lying on the ground over there is actually your combined reincarnation and descendant. Indra had a questioning look on his face as he turned back around towards his father. What happened to the boy? It looks like somebody screwed him up pretty badly. He was betrayed, stabbed in the back by one who was once his former friend. Ashura's generally genial face gave way to an extremely serious face reminiscent of his descendant Hashirama as he asked, so why is it so important for us to be here? Oh, so he's it, right? What you prophesied would be born for when we could return home. Yes. Now I summoned you here because it is imperative that you assist us with his healing, and very soon I'm gonna summon your Biju siblings. Kurama is already here as well. Our family's most important members need to be present for this to work. Now then, let's summon your other siblings, or at least partially. Shuhaku, Isobu, Matabi, Son Goku, Kokuo, Saiken, Chome and Gyuki, I call you now. Come, we all need your help. So your brother Isobu has been captured. This isn't good, but we'll have to make do. One by one all the tailed beasts and their current Jinchuriki appeared, all looking extremely confused until they spotted their father and siblings, both human and Biju, and gave a combined cry of joy and quickly ignored everything else and stampeded towards the rest of their family, only to be stopped as they took in the sight of the badly injured boy lying on the ground. One Jinchuriki felt something familiar. This girl was the Jinchuriki of the 7-tailed beetle Fu, one of those Naruto sworn to love. Spotted a familiar figure on the ground surrounded by his family, pushing her way through the crowd of humans and Biju, and recognizing the person that she gave her heart to, Naruto Uzumaki, was dying, making her quickly rush to his side amid the confused looks of nearly everyone else other than those that knew Naruto's secret promise to Fu, Minato, Kushina, Kurama, Chome, and of course Hagoromo. Kushina, moving away to make room for Fu, got on her knees and began to cry out, "No! Naruto-kun, please. Please don't leave me. You were one of the few reasons that I still want to live. Without you I have nothing left to live for. Please don't die on me. Remember your promise to me and Tenten-san. You promised you'd love us. How can you keep your promise when you're dead? So please, future husband, please don't die." Immediately being embraces by Kushina, who was trying to calm down the hysteric girl. Chome turned towards his elder brother and asked, "What happened to Naruto-chan?" Kurama-nisan. Not even to turn his head towards his brother, Kurama answered, "He was first imprisoned, then tortured for fulfilling his mission in bringing back a mentally unstable common Uchiha. We escaped but were then ambushed. Nearly everyone of his friends are dead. They were all executed in front of him. Now he's dying due to the same common Uchiha who delivered the killing blow. Chome shook his armored head in sadness. I hope he lives through this. Fu isn't gonna stay stable mentally if he were to die. Despite my best efforts to help Fu-chan, Naruto-chan was the one who brought back hope in her life. Nodding in agreement, Kurama spoke in a sagely tone. Despite everything, I will help in whatever way I can. While this was going on, Ashura was looking at Naruto before he widened his eyes and ran to him. Wait, stop. His eyes, look at his eyes. Because right before their eyes, Naruto's eyes were changing in front of them, changing from sky blue eyes to purple with concentric circles, although whenever it did, a seal would appear that would revert it back to his normal blue eyes. Kushina widened her eyes and rushed up to her son. I know this seal. It's a modified Hyuga Soak no Juinjutsu, Hyuga curse mark seal. Somebody must have put a seal on him when he was a baby. Back when we were all resting from the sealing, there are at least a few more seals that restrain his growth rate and brain power, although he had unconsciously destroyed all the other seals other than the Hyuga seal. Minato and Madara both subconsciously clenched their fists in rage as both thought of their own creative ways of killing off the Hyuga clan. In Minato's case, he wanted all the Hyuga clan members to have a Haraishin seal placed on their bodies, and he would release them into the forest of death, where he will gradually hunt them all down and while alive will carve out their eyes before decapitating them and placing their heads on sticks. In Madara's head, his plan was also simple, where he would first line up all the guilty Hyuga clan members and he would use his perfect Susanoo and use its large fingers to tear them limb from limb, cackling wildly like in the old days. Both were interrupted from their dark thoughts by Hagoromo himself placing his hand on Naruto's forehead and literally lifting out the Hu seal before quickly crushing it in the palm of his hands. Enough time has been wasted. Everyone get in a circle and join hands. Minato-chan, put your hands on my shoulder, while you, Kushina, put your hands on my mother, Kagaya. All of the humans members within the groups clasped hands, albeit in Tobirama's case they were only doing it for the sake of saving their descendant, and Ashura and Indra were forced to clasp hands as well, although Indra attempted to break his brother's hands by squeezing too hard. Turning toward his Biju children, he called out, all right, my children, I need you all to join your tails together so that all of your chakra is synchronized together, and put one tail on each of your cousin's shoulders. Me and Mother will stand in the middle acting as conduit to perform the ritual. The tailed beasts did as their father told and quickly got themselves organized with. Now I want you all to draw your chakra to the palm of your hands, then when ready send it around, make it into a swirling ring around us. To my Biju children, start to send your yukai through each other's tails and do the same thing we are doing. Slowly within the inner part of the double circle a small rainbow of light began to swirl, which was gradually beginning to mix into a pure white ring of energy, each person grimacing in pain as others people's chakra were passing before them. The tailed beast also closed their eyes and concentrated on releasing their yukai in calm bursts, which began to circulate into a great ring of dark power. Okay, now my children, send your yukai forward toward the ones you are connected with your tail. Remember, this needs to happen at the same time or else the ring of yukai will break. The Biju willed their yukai made energy ring was sent at the same time towards the inner chakra ring, fusing with it turn on the ring into a gray disc. This is the final part. Minato, Kushina, draw in the rings, then send it towards me and my mother so we could purify it even further before we send it to Naruto-chan's body. Minato and Kushina grimaced as they pulled the large ring of gray power, which condensed into two balls in their hand, and at the same time sending it to Hagoromo and Kagaya, who quickly moved to place all of their combined powers within Naruto, more specifically right into his chakra core, causing this new chakra to take shape around him, reminiscent of a much more stronger chakra cloak. Think Naruto's full cloaked Biju chakra mode, except that most of his cloak is black with gray lines and magatamas. His eyes, wide in pain, had once again changed into his fully powered Rinnegan, which in front of everyone's eyes changed once again with the rings in his eyes expanding, and three Tomo appeared spinning in the inner circle near the pupil. When Kagaya and Hagoromo saw his eyes, both gasped as Hagoromo whispered, the eyes of the Shinju, but how? As all of the members of the ritual crowded around the young man, they all helped save Kagaya and her son were having one of their theory sessions. Kagaya put her hand to her chin and thought aloud, well, I have a theory that a lot of the chakra used in this ritual was actually made up of 1/3 of the Shinju's chakra that were passed down to the ages and the Biju themselves. Hagoromo nodded his head in agreement. Yes, that would make sense. The Biju themselves is actually made up of maybe 75% of the Shinju's chakra and 25% my chakra, so it would make sense that he would unlock such a powerful eyes from the 10 tails itself with us sending our combined chakra into his body. It's no surprise really, he will awaken soon. We will wait here, you my children are to return to your bodies in the real world. One by one the Jinchuriki dispersed. The last two to go was Gaara and Fu. With Gaara nodding towards Naruto's parents, he dispersed himself too. Fu remained staring at Naruto before looking towards Naruto's parents, then back at him. Can you please tell him I was here to tell him before he flees that I will follow him? Please tell him to come get me here in Taki. I'm so lonely there. I'd rather be with him as a missing nin than be a weapon any longer. Kurama leaned forward as he calmly poked her in the head. Girl, do not worry, put your trust in him and he never failed to fulfill your promise. Now tell, where are you so we can easily take you with us? Despite Shibuki-sama, the Council of Taki have me living in the borders under Anbu guard to be used as a border patrol against invasion, although the Anbu are not the ones who are loyal to Shibuki but instead are loyal to the Council. I have heard from one of the Anbu that they plan to sell me to the highest bidder in the trafficking when I'm 15. Please Kurama-sama, please come get me. With that, Fu faded away in a shower of light alongside Chome. At first all was tranquil as the remaining family stood quietly as they waited for Naruto to awaken. Suddenly a loud scream situated from Naruto as he was engulfed in pure white light, which despite getting smaller did not lose any of its intensity, for the ball of light was broken by what seemed like 10 wings that emerged from the ball itself before finally forming into Naruto. But not Naruto was clad in glowing robes of pure chakra as he screamed to the skies. The dark wet mindscape shattered around his 10 wings, spreading to what seems like hours. Finally his screaming had faded as he calmly looked towards his family, all deceased, as all stared at him in wonderment. Naruto turned his head away, saying only a small number of words. Thank you all, I have finally truly know what it means to be loved. Now I go to battle to destroy the murderers of our family. Naruto dissolved in a shower as his consciousness was returned to the main part of his body right in the middle of battle. Turning towards his mother, Hagoromo got serious as he asked, Mother, what else did you put into his body? Kagaya smirked. Oh, just the Geto Mazo statue, which fused with my grandchildren's chakra so that it will be turned into an instant battery. Besides, it is heavily weakened so it can't fight back anyway. Besides, it seemed too willing to join him. I think I felt it in my head saying thank you. Besides, it will power up his Rinnegan to the point of nothing being a threat. Outside the seal during the emergence, Tsunade was in her last ropes. She was so badly wounded that her SAISEISOZO wasn't even helping anymore. Every single time that she killed one root, another two would attack her in retaliation. Just as all hope was lost, she felt it, a feeling of calm and peace as her pain and sadness was momentarily forgotten. Then came the shockwave of power so bright and powerful everyone on the battlefield had to shield their eyes or risk going blind, especially the dojutsu users that were present. The voice was heard from within the shockwave of light, unknown to all those on the battlefield all over the world. All those who could hear his voice stopped what they were doing and listened. I have come. Northwestern continent at a campsite. A dark-haired, dark-skinned woman stood up from her breakfast as she felt a powerful wave of reishi hit her, sending senses haywire as she heard within her head a voice. Instead of panicking, she calmly closed her eyes and just continued listen, feeling the calmness in the voice. This feeling, it's so powerful, yet so righteous. All darkness will tremble. Seireitei within the former Sautaicho's office. 3 men were in the middle of a meeting when the wave of power washed over them, causing all 3 men to stop drinking their tea, with one of the men who wore a yukata and wearing glasses and a slicked back hair sitting in the main table actually dropping his teacup with the hot liquid dripping down his kimono and also caused his glasses to shatter. While a dark-skinned man with long brown braids saw a vision and gasped as he saw a man shrouded in light and secretly began to cry as he was in his head looking at the image of a true god. The third man with aquamarine hair moved to help the man with shattered glasses, so busy they were that they didn't notice their companion shedding tears. Then the voice was heard in their heads which caused the man with damaged glasses to start trembling in fear, much to the worry of those two with him. I don't know what's happening, this isn't part of my plans. For a god to come down to this plane, I don't think we could win. Black-hearted tyrants shall fall to their knees. Konohagakure no Sato Hokage Tower with Danzo and elders. Unlike many other people whose hearts were righteous, when the wave of power washed over Konohagakure no Sato, many whose hearts were blackened with greed and ignorance screamed out in pain as their very bodies rebelled against them. One such man, the called Yami no Shinobi, Shadow of Shinobi, Danzo Shimura, screamed as his stolen bloodlines, the Mokuton and the Sharingan, caused him to scream out in pain as one by one his stolen Sharingans in his arm and eye were bleeding and then suddenly exploding in a small showers of blood as the Mokuton arm seemingly torn off of its own will as it too seemingly exploded in a shower of blood and flesh. Now truly Danzo was now a true cripple. Danzo looked up to the sky as he screamed, "Damn you sage and your descendants, we were meant to rule this world, not you. I swear I will kill off your last descendant, I will hang his corpse on a pole, I swear it." While within the Hyuga compound with the other Hyuga who didn't go with Hiashi and Neji all screamed out in pain as each felt the voice of a living god and his anger washing over them. Their eyes, like the Sharingan users, their eyes bled, although some didn't get as hurt as the rest. Many of the branch house remained safe as their arrogant main house siblings screamed in pain. While in the main house practically all the members were banging their heads in an attempt to stop the pain, and the elders, those who selfishly throw away family, had their eyes explode in their skulls and died knowing whatever selfish plans they had will never come to completion. Hinata remained unharmed while Hanabi herself was screaming and crying as she cried with her sister. The downtrodden will rise up. Within slave market in Genbu City, northwestern continent. Slaves of various peoples weakly walked to their fate, as those who received the bad end of the stick as they were led away. The shockwave reached them. Among the slaves a young red-haired woman who looked up from her painful march to slavery as the voice that came with the shockwave caused her to become empowered with celestial power, causing 4 chain links to burst from her back as she broke the chains that bound her arms and legs and made a desperate charge against her captors. She put up a fight, killing many slavers, but was eventually overwhelmed by sheer numbers and was cut down before she died. Those that were surrounding her, swords drawn, heard her weak and dying voice. The slavers and all those that take pleasure in the suffering from others will fall before the might of the true heir of the sage. He will take back what is rightfully his, and end the suffering of the people against the tyrants who flaunt power as if it was rightfully theirs.